Hello everybody. Jov here. Welcome back to the Test-Driven Development Screencast. First of all, I'd like to apologize for not starting as I promised in July, that I'm gonna start in September. Things are happening, so I didn't manage to start in September, but here we are back. I think everything's gonna be fine. I promise that this content is gonna be as interesting or even more interesting than the previous one. So let's see how everything's gonna go. So basically, we continue working on our friends application, and hopefully in this season we are gonna make it work, like build some more features, and let's see how that's gonna go. So let's take a quick look at where we left off. So basically we have a sign up and we have a timeline, and the timeline is rendering the posts, our own posts or the posts from the friends that we are following. And we also came up with a screen that's gonna be our post composer, but at this moment that screen is empty. That's meant to be for creating posts, and that's something that we are gonna be starting off this season with, but we are not gonna work on the UI just yet. We'll start first with the business logic to actually do the creation of the posts. Also, we have a to-do list where we are writing down where what we are gonna be working on next. So here we are gonna just put down the create posts. But one thing that is so here I'm looking at the leftovers from the previous season. So the backend exception, the connection available exception in contract, basically those are the contracts that we are gonna work on when we will be building the backend, where we will like to actually talk to a backend. So the idea at this point is that this system that we are building has to work seamlessly without any dependency from outside world. So basically what we do is we make it work with in-memory implementations of, let's say, an API or a database or whatever. So because the database or the network or those kind of things, those are implementation details, those are dependencies that we don't want to take a look at just yet. So first we want to make our system work in memory. Once we know that the system works, then we can do those integrations with because we don't really care right now whether we are going to be talking to a network, whether we are going to be talking to a database or like file system or whatever. Once we have the system working, it's gonna be easy to integrate with any of those, and that's what it means to have these contracts. And another thing is to remember the signed up user. So basically, once I sign up, the application should remember me, or like later on probably we're gonna have a login. That's something that probably very low value of a feature, but imagine that you are in the application, don't want to re-log in or re-sign up every time you open the app. So once you've signed up, you have to be able to use the application afterwards without signing up again or logging in. So it should remember you. So in that sense, that's what it meant, this thingy to remember the signed up user. So I'm gonna move it up, because that's sort of a bigger, more important thing to do. Because as I said, the application should work first in memory without any dependency from the outside world, and then we are gonna think about the outside world. Let's also take a look quickly at a post. The post class has an ID, a user ID, that the actual text of the post and when the post was created. So now imagine if you are having a real backend, then the timestamp and the user ID. So the user ID we have to send the user ID to the backend, but the post ID is gonna be something generated on the backend. So the user ID should be something that the backend also generates but sends us back on the sign up, so we have to keep it, to remember it somehow. And then when creating posts or like iterating with everything, like following users, unfollowing users, we have to be, probably will need this user ID. So that's the user ID that I'm talking about, the user identifier. It is also created on the backend, but right now in our application we have that service in memory. So similarly, we are gonna approach the same thing with the posts. So yeah, maybe for some people it doesn't make sense to make the system work in like in memory without the actual backend, but bear with me, you're gonna see that everything is gonna make sense afterwards. So yeah, so as I said, like imagine if we are having a device and we want to make a new post, all we are gonna be typing is the text. So we don't know about the user ID, we don't know about the timestamp, anything like that. So all we have the text. So what I'm thinking right now is the API of the UI that's gonna be communicating with our business logic. So our business logic will have sort of a function that will only take the text, and then we have to do the operations onwards. So let's see how everything's gonna go. I'm just giving a little thought right now, but I don't wanna make lots of assumptions and lots of big designs up front. I wanna see how the tests are gonna drive everything. So of course, let's close this. As always, we are gonna start from the tests, and because we have a post composer package in the production code, we are gonna do the same here. We are gonna put the tests in those package for creating the posts. So post composer, I don't have a typo, and then create a post test. So that's gonna be our test where we are gonna be starting off from. And then let's start off with the first test. So what happens when the post is created? So that's the situation that I want to exercise first. So a post is created. So first I'm gonna start from the successful cases. So a post is created, another post is created, so see how the algorithm will evolve, and then try about think about the bad cases when, like, let's say the post is not created because of something. We can inject some different things there, like, I don't know, bad language, for example, or that kind of things. We don't want to, let's say, create a post if there are some unwanted words, like some sort of filtering on a bad language and that kind of things, but that's something that we can think about later. So the assertion is gonna be so once again, just to remind how important it is to start from the assertion. So the assertion is gonna be something like we always start from the assertion because it allows us to specify what we wanna see later on when we come back to the test. That's first. And second, it's gonna force us not to write too much of a code that's like that's not needed in a sense. So it's gonna minimize the work for us. We are not gonna make too much of, like, if you start from the I've seen it many times. When you start from the actual arrangements, you come up with too many things that you might not necessarily need. When you start from the assertion, it's always bringing you to the minimum possible, like to the smallest possible thing ever. So let's start with the assertion. Assert equals. So here I would expect a some UI state that's gonna be rendered. So let's say create post state created. It's gonna take the post itself, and that's gonna be my view model post state value. So that's an assertion that I want to see. So I want to make sure that the value of the post state view in the view model. So the post state basically is a live data. So the value of the live data, I want it to be a create post state created, and it should have the post that was just created. And as we mentioned previously about the view model should offer me an API where I can send a text, so the UI has only the text. And when communicating with a view model, all I have to send in the view model is from the UI is the text. I have nothing else. So I need something like create post, and here I can just say post text. That's about it. And now we can actually do the arrangements. So let's make this compile. The view model is gonna be, let's say, create post view model. So that's a type that does not exist yet. So let's create it. So create a class, extract to separate file. So we're gonna keep it in a post composer, but it's gonna be in the production code. Yeah, let's move it on the other side. Oops, it was wrong shortcut. Oops, what's going on? Yeah. Seems like my shortcuts are slightly broken, but doesn't matter. Okay, now we have it on the right side. And yeah, let's see what's next. Let's then think about the create post state. That's gonna be a extract to separate file. It's gonna be in a post composer. I'll need a state package. Oops. So create extract. I want to put it in this source. And as I said, in a post composer, I need state of the, yeah, but not, yeah, here. Yeah, the reason is that the reason being is that the create post state is basically a UI state that I need only for rendering, so it has nothing to do with my domain. It's pure UI, so that's why I want to keep it in the same package where the post composer is. So basically, I keep there only UI stuff, and in my domain, I keep the domain logic. Easy as that. Now let's yeah, I think, yeah, in the tests there is this state package created, and I knew that because the studio is a little bit creepy lately. Anyway, now let's move it on the other side. And yeah, first I'm gonna create this post, because when I will be auto-generating, like emerging this created, it's gonna know the type right away. So the post is gonna be basically post, and here I'm gonna have the, let's say, post ID. Let's import this. So I have a post ID, I have a user ID, and then I have the text, the post text, and I have, let's say, 1L timestamp. What's the post text? The post text gonna be, let's say, first post. And it's gonna be the created. I need it here. I need it to be a val, and this to be a data class. And I need to derive from the create post state. Oh, and this one should be a sealed class. A little bit of a wiring at the beginning, but that's fine. And yeah, I need this one first, the API of the view model. So the post text comes as a string, so that's the public API of the view model. That's about it. It has nothing else inside. And lastly, let's create a post state. I need it to be a member of the view model. The post state is gonna be a live data of a create post state, and it's gonna be I'm gonna make it equal to the mutable post state. Oops. And the mutable post state is gonna be also a property here, but it's gonna be a mutable live data of create post state. Right, now I have the wiring. Let's run the tests and watch it fail. It's super important to watch the test fail. I think we spoke about it many times and you already know why it is so important. So yeah, we are expecting the state to be created and it should have a post inside, but what we have is actually a null because we are not setting anything here in this view model. So the easiest thing that comes to my mind in order to satisfy this test is to copy this thingy and paste it here, and then say that the mutable post state value is created, and just pass there this post. And now if I run, it should work. Okay, it fails because it says it has a problem with the looper, and of course we've seen that before. What do we need is extend this with the instant task executor extension, and now run. Now it should pass, and it does. So that seems like a good time for me to make a commit. So previously I've done a commit where I'm updating the dependencies. That's all fine. And now this one's gonna be all at once. Can create a post for a given post text. Let's go ahead and create a new test. And now this one can be another post created. And now we can proceed with the same assertion, basically create post state created another post. That's gonna be my view model post state value. Right, now the another post is a post. Here we have a typo. Another post is a post that has post ID 2. Then I think let's say the same user ID. Then second post, and then it's gonna be 2L, the creation time. Let's make it slightly smaller so it's gonna be visible on the screen. The view model is gonna be a create post view model. Here also a typo. And of course we need an action for this view model. Oops. Create post. Let's extract this one into a post text. Right. Let's run, watch it fail. And it does, because the expectation is completely different. So how do we make this work? Basically what's changing here is just this post text. So we can, the easiest thing to do is we can say here if post text is first post, or actually second post, else do the old thing. So here we're gonna say that this is the post that we are expecting, and we can pass that one to the live data. Let's watch that pass. It does. So let's also make a commit at this point. Can create another post. That's it. Now we can start, we can do a little refactor here. So basically we can pull this post in front of the if, and we can push, we can get this outside of the if else, this line of code. So how do we do that is we can copy this, we can duplicate it here, and we can say that the val post is this or this, and we can move this to the new line. And now this should work, so it shouldn't break the tests, because this one happens, oops, because this block happens after the first block, and now we can safely delete this block. So we came up with somewhat simpler thing. And now we can do we can continue with some more refactoring. So basically what we want to do is we want to start pushing the data up the call stack as we were doing in the previous episodes, in the previous season, and we want to keep only abstractions here. But we can start also first of all with grouping similar things and putting them together. So as we can see now, the post, the ID of the post is an element of randomness, same as the timestamp. It's also element of randomness. So now the important thing is, how do we test these elements of randomness? So that's a question that's quite interesting actually. So if it was Java, for example, we could create a class that does the real thing, and then make a subclass for the tests. But because this is Kotlin and I don't want to have a class that's gonna be open and that kind of play with open things, probably we would like to hide it behind an interface. But that's something to take a look a bit later. For now, it's just something that comes into my mind, that I'm already like, there is a little demon in my brain thinking about those things. So basically these two, the timestamp and the post ID, are element of randomness, and I have to be able to test them. So basically I have to be able to come up with something that I can control in the tests, but in the production code it's gonna work as I expect it to work. So that's something that what comes into my mind is an interface with just two implementations, one for the production, one for the tests. That's how we can control it. We can see how that's gonna evolve. Obviously, we are not gonna work at it right away. But for example, the user ID is something that that is same for, like, no matter how many posts we are gonna be creating for the same user. Because one user at a time can be signed in, so we have that user ID, so we have to keep this user ID somehow, somewhere, so it has to come from somewhere. That's what I'm saying. Also, if we take a look at the here, we are also having a note about remembering the user ID, so we have to already start thinking about where this user ID is gonna be coming from. So first we can start working on that one maybe, and then then work on these other elements of the post ID and the timestamp. So about the user ID, we can extract it into a variable. First, let's make everything works. And because I said it's gonna be coming from somewhere, let's first of all extract it into a function. And the function is gonna be logged in user ID. And let's make sure that that works. It does. And what we can do, we can inline now the call. Well, in fact, I don't need to inline it. It's okay like that. So now I have a function that gives me the user ID. And then let's maybe make a little commit at this point of time. Well, I went a step too much. So I should have made a commit with the previous refactoring, right? When I made the if else a little bit simple, like simplified. But okay, I think it's fine. You will forgive me. I'm so excited for the new season, so I've done that mistake. I think it's okay. I'm not gonna be undoing, because after all, this is just a pet project. So yeah. Extracted can get the user ID from a can get the logged in user ID from a common place. So in a sense, we removed one duplication, but basically, as I said, the user ID should be something, should be coming from somewhere. So we need an abstraction to hold the user ID for us. So when we sign up or when we log in, a user is being returned back to us, and then that user has the ID. So we have to store that ID somewhere so that we can read it from that place as well. So that's something that we have to come up with. And so basically, we can create a class here that's gonna be, let's say, in-memory user data. I'm not sure if I like that name a lot. I like the in-memory because this is gonna be the logged in user data, so maybe I'll need something more than the user ID, I don't know, later on. But for now I need only the ID. However, I'm just gonna keep this name as like in-memory user data. Yeah, in-memory user data should be fine. I'm thinking also to add the logged in user data here, in-memory logged in user data, but let's keep it smaller. And what I'm gonna do is I'll put this here, and that should not change a thing. It's of no consequence, the tests are running. And then what I can do, I can replace here the call to the in-memory user data, logged in user ID, and that should still work, and it does. And I can delete the old function because it is unused, and that should still work, and it does. Now I'm thinking whether I should make a commit or not. Let's skip making a commit now. Let's extract this into a class. So in-memory user data is gonna be part of my domain. User. in the production code, in-memory user data, and of course I think I want to be able to control what this in-memory user data is going to return to me, because this is basically a fake test double. So let's move this into the constructor. User ID. Well, let's name this logged in user ID. Make this private. And that should still work. It does. And now what we can do is we can introduce the in-memory user data as constructor argument for the create post view model as well. And I'm just gonna name this logged in user data. Or let's maybe name it just user data, because we have the logged in user ID, and make this private, do a little formatting here, and that should still work. But unfortunately, as we saw previously, the studio itself is having a bug, so it is not auto importing here the things, so I have to import it myself in the tests. But anyway, now just run the tests and it works. So what we've done is we pushed the user ID up the call stack, so towards the tests, and basically this user ID we can extract and in fact we can make it as a private val user ID, so we are reducing the duplication here, and we can do the same here, and that should still work. And in fact I can do this user data, just pull it out completely, and here the same. Right, so everything's fine. So what we've done is we pushed the user ID up the call stack, and it's a place where the user ID is controllable. So what we can do next is, because this is in-memory user data, we can extract an interface from this and then write an implementation that that will work in the real life as like storing this data into the preferences, into the file system of the device and that kind of things. But of course, because we don't need it right now, I'm not gonna do it right away. In fact, yeah, let's keep it simple. Let's don't do the things that are not needed right now. But everything works. So what we can do, we can make a commit, and the commit's gonna be extracted an abstraction to provide the logged in user data. Good. So I think that is a good start, and we are running some 35 minutes. I think I'm gonna wrap up this first episode. So in the next episode, what we can do is what we want to do is handle post ID, handle the timestamp, well, not handle, but abstraction for the post ID, abstraction for the timestamp. Well, in fact, I think I just know, because when we take a look here, we have a bunch of things to refactor, and so that's basically where we are gonna continue. So instead of these two, let's write push the data inside the view model up the call stack. That's about it. And yeah, so then we can see how everything's gonna go. Then afterwards, once we figure out the post ID and the timestamp, we'll be able to create posts and control these sort of elements of randomness from the tests. And then once we have that, we'll be able to create posts, so that then we can think about the errors and the boundaries and all those things, and basically we will be able to create posts. So yeah, let's keep up. I think the next episode comes next week. I'm more than sure that this is, let's say, if we are clear, we can push this so it's in the repository. And yeah, I think that's gonna be a wrap up. I'm gonna catch you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the time and the attention. I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye bye.